So today I have a little container gardening hack for you. So we grow a lot of plants in containers interspersed throughout the garden. And this one you're looking at in this video is Boston fern, very common plant people buy to put, especially if they have a shady location on a porch or whatever, and that's what this is. And this plant is actually a pretty sizable plant in a very small pot that came from Walmart. And these plants literally cost like $12. They're so cheap. And so you can stick them around everywhere that you want a little bit of greenery. And then the problem becomes keeping up with hydration because these plants, because they're so pot bound and they're in such small pots, unless you pot them up into a bigger pot, you're just going to be watering like crazy. So the best way to water them is from the bottom. And by that, I mean putting the whole pot into something and letting the plant drink from its roots. So that's an added chore if you don't do this hack that I'm going to suggest to you right now. And this pot is actually sitting in, and I'm going to pan down here to show you my little Pyrex bowl. So this is a 12-inch diameter Pyrex bowl. I got this also at Walmart. My daughter picked them up for me when she saw they were on sale a couple years ago, and I think I paid $5 for it, but they're usually a little bit more. You don't have to use Pyrex. You can use any kind of glass or even a plastic bowl. I recommend clear because the whole point is that nobody's going to see it. So I'm going to come in here and we'll see that this plant is sitting in one of these bowls, and it's almost out of water right now. So I'll refill it. And when you put the water in this bowl and you fill it up, with this particular plant, I'll probably get at least probably close to 5 or 6 days without having to come in and water it. And I won't ever have to water from the top. I'll just put water in the bowl and the plant will just drink from the bottom. And then when it's empty, I'll just do it again. And you can see how beautiful this plant looks. And this is in the hottest part of July. And that's the only kind of watering it's had since it's been out here, is through this bowl. I'm going to go show you another one, or another two, I guess, in the pool area in a second. But first, I'm going to show you that sort of variation on a theme. When we go away on vacation, instead of having someone responsible for finding out and knowing where all the container plants are in the garden and coming in and watering them, we use aluminum chafing dishes. So I always recycle the ones that we use for parties. So if we use this in the bottom of a chafing dish that you use to warm things, this is a disposable pan. I don't throw them away. I just save them. And I keep them stacked up in the basement. And then when we're going to go away, I can usually fit at least 2 pots in here. This is a pretty wide base pot. And this is a coleus that's in here. And I'll put all my pots in these and I'll fill them with water out in a shadier part of the garden, not undercover, but out in the garden in shade. And that's because if it does rain, or if I have them in an area where we do have irrigation going, the bottoms will fill back up. And then the plant will drink from the bottom, and we will get the entire week of this plant being watered just from the base, just by filling up this aluminum pan. So filling those up before we go on vacation with water, and then letting the plant drink from the bottom out in a shady area of the garden, and we'll come back to happy, healthy, hydrated plants without any worry. All right, so we're going to head over into the garden and see a couple more that are also in clear glass bowls. So this is another container that I have that is sitting in a clear Pyrex bowl. And this is a typical nursery size pot that you would buy full of annuals. And that's what it was purchased as a few years ago. And it was all full of a nice combination of annuals. And we just bought it already filled in the wire container it's sitting in. And now I refill it myself. And there are 8 annuals in here. And it's pretty full. And to water this from the top, you'd have to water 2 or 3 times a day. And you see pots like this all the time, and people struggle to keep them watered. And I drive by all the time, people's pots on their porch or hanging baskets, and see that they're completely crispy and fried. So if you had it in a hanging basket, all you need to do is leave the Pyrex bowl or any kind of water container on the ground underneath it, and then lift it down and let it sit in there for a couple hours and suck the water up. That is absolutely the best way to water them. But this one, having the water in the bottom, no matter how hot or dry it gets, that plant is going to be drinking from the bottom and stay well hydrated. I use this I grow some cucumbers in a pot, and I use this also for the base of that, and it really, really works wonders. So I'm going to add on the little video Bill took. Just try not to get seasick because his hands were shaking a little bit while he was videoing while I was pouring the water so you could see the plant drinking it up. Okay, happy gardening.